I saw a retweet yesterday from something that Max Landis, the creator and showrunner of Dirk Gently's, sent out back in January, saying that season 2 is so sweet and nice until it's the fucking darkest and worst shit ever. And if you hadn't thought we'd turned that corner by the end of last episode, by tonight you definitely know we have. And it's only gonna get more intense. Suzy Borden has a wand on this week's Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. Season 2, Episode 6. Girl Power. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. So yeah, like shapes flying through the air, spoilers are coming. Alright, so yeah, definitely turning our typical dark turn. We ran into this in season 1, which had a lot of lightness and intrigue, and then about halfway through, it switches to its dark side. We had all the killings of the Blackwing crew and the guys and the cops that we liked, and things got bad. So here we are following that self-same arc. The initial stages are joy and discovery and intrigue and fun, and then things go crazy. And this tonight it was pretty much centered around Suzy, kind of taking the lead over Mage in this episode, but really going to the dark side. I mean, we see that from the very opening bits where she turns her son into a frog who is just, you know, after a night of Magic Molly, is just happy and deciding, hey mom, I want to connect, I want to support you, I never felt loved, but now I want to back you, whammo. No more son, now just a leaping frog. Pretty quick sign of where Suzy's at, and only goes downhill from there. From the call of the gang, was so very excited that Tina's gonna make the call, and she's got the idea, we've got the phone, we'll just pretend that the boy's here with us. No, because he's a frog, and he's with mom, and that's not fooling Suzy. And she doesn't, the great thing is that there isn't any more play for Suzy. She is very straightforward, and she is relishing. Amanda Walsh just doing such a transformation from what we've seen as the sort of damaged, you know, wanting to make everyone happy, beaten down kind of girl to back embracing her full evil, viciousness, narcissism, wants, desires, all right here. From that phone call where it just degrades from, why are you lying to me, Tina? To going to kill you all, and blood and death, and just doesn't pause halfway through that, just hits that root and goes straight into it. I do appreciate that. And then it just cascades from there. Again, running into Mage, who is now looking at the big drawing on the wall, thinking, well, my fate's already decided, why should I try? Suzy's not having any of that, even kind of putting into a place, you made promises, you are going to deliver. More prepared this time. I loved her duct taping the wand to her hand. It's not going to get dropped, she's not going to lose it. And I am assuming, possibly just by having the wand in your hand, being within that power, maybe she did some little pre-protection spell on her, because yes, all of those very scary, metallic, glowing, spiky shapes coming out, scary enough. Love the trade-off with Farah and Tina there in the hospital, and Tina's coming out and she's trying to draw cover and dive in the next room, and then Farah pops around and blam, one shot right to the head. Hopefully that'd be the end of it. But no, that's the magic. That's what I'm saying. She had to have probably done something to her beforehand, or there's an intrinsic protection in owning the wand, because usually a shot to the head, you don't have time to react or try and pull it out. Usually that's a pretty instantaneous, done deal. But that separates Tina from the group, and eventually we lose Arnold, which was so sad. We were just getting some background, not a lot of specifics. We'll dive into that in a little minute. But still taking him out, which spirals Dirk down into the rest of his depression, which is all kind of explained of where he's been going on when we see how this episode ended. He's wanting to avoid things, and this is specifically why. So, as ends up, she is back. I loved Priest too. That was such a great little bit between him and her, just taking her out the window, the full machine gun dropping down, and he looks down, and she's gone. Classic bad guy move. Anyway, and of course, his resulting line of just how much he's missed Blackwing. You don't get this type of stuff with your normal job. But that sends her back, and I love that last show up with Mage too. She comes in, she's bleeding from the hole in her head, which was all nice and scary. She pulled that bullet out. Plus she's got glass and stuff all stuck with her, and now convinced Dirk Gently is dead, the boy is dead, and she is ready to be Queen of Wendimoor. Yeah, and Dirk's whole kind of depression really sort of makes sense in this episode. And, nice ups and downs with him, too. This is, as he talked about last week, the part that he is being afraid of where the case always goes. It starts off nice, and then there is death and good people dying. And they're not even sure about Hobbs, but they're getting that insight in this episode that he was somewhere. He was at the Cardenas. And things went down, and they haven't heard from him. And considering the follow-up call with Suzie, that's certainly not making things look good. I do enjoy the fact that there was that kind of breakdown where we do have Dirk using his holistic detective abilities, putting all of the pieces together about the boy, about, that Susie's got to be the apprentice, and the Mage is here, and how everything is all laid out. That was a great bit for Dirk to kind of sum up. And from that point, he figures he could just take it the whole next step and just solve the case. I don't really know how that works. And there was a great bit between him and Bart also, which I thought was excellent, as Bart's talking to Dirk about, don't you know how this works? And we have Bart here in a way accepting and relishing where she is, though with Ponto that sort of changes also. And then we have Dirk, who is really trying to resist that pull of the universe and that interconnectedness. So it was a nice little moment, I think, between these two people that really are two sides of the same coin. They're both at the whim and mercy of the universe. Bart just in that realm of kind of acceptance, and Dirk resisting it. Which is why the following kind of I have solved the case bit, it's done. I loved his little move there he's got going on. Was so wonderful, is because there's so much desperation, and even he doesn't believe it as he goes through the whole thing. We've done it, and this is the boy, and there's there. It's like that just proclaiming that the case is done will in some way stop this cycle that he has been so desperate to avoid repeating since really the beginning of this season. Well, let's say episode 2, just after he met back up with Todd and started to see how the case was starting to develop. So again, just a really cool bit, and you can see even as he finishes up and he does his whole happy bit, how he just turns and his head just drops as he knows it's like it's not going to work. And of course, with the appearance of Suzie and everything at the hospital, and seeing how that all and the downfall of Arnold there, this is why he has been such in the depths of dump, and why, as it goes through the episode, he is basically catatonic at this point. Everything he's been trying to avoid is coming to play, and everything that he has tried to do to avoid it hasn't worked. Again, like Bart, he is at the whim of the universe, but he needs to accept it, and through that, see where he might change things, and thus in a way still continue on to the means of the universe. Anyway, Dirk's he's just not feeling himself. And okay, technically he is also kind of in the dumps at the end because he thinks that the whole case has fallen apart. But really, that's just him not being in sync with who he is. He should know how the cases go, and that it just doesn't end like that. There's always more to come. And Hugo let Ken out of the car! I mean, I know he was already out of the car, but now he's out of the car room. He's got his own apartment. He's got a place, he's got a bed, he's got a shower, he can shave. Just, feeling human again. And Ken is basically the guy in the chair now, which I love is great. He's got all the access, he's got all the computers, got all the communication. He's starting to do the coordinations of things, seeing that he needs more clearance. You know, he's just opening that up. So I'm relishing. I love Ken out of this. I'm enjoying his new role. I appreciate his understanding of where things are. The little interactions with Priest I thought were also kind of cool. It's just how he's kind of like the plain straightforward operator. And Priest is like, okay, wait a minute. You seem to have your priorities right. I'm liking you, Ken. There was a great interaction. And then, of course, you know, Priest always appreciating having the door opened up. Certainly appreciating the idea of having the police cars tagged and follow their GPS. That worked out well. See, Ken is getting into his proper place here. He's getting into his little technology and smarts and applying that in a good reason. I love that. Priest, of course, still dangerous, still scary. I already mentioned the whole hospital bit, which I loved. I just loved. And again, you still that communication with Ken. Project Icarus is the priority. That type of clarity is something that Priest appreciates, which is probably why he didn't kill Farah, though that was Dirk's kind of concern. And look, I understand that you have a scene like that between being Priest and Farah that I'm not even going to call it a fight, the move. You do that in order to prove how tough they are. I mean, we already get an idea how tough the Priest is. But Farah's a badass. So it's standard. You have the badass, you have your team's badass get beat to show how bad the villain is, or the antagonist, or this other person, Priest in this case. And I'm fine with that normally, but they have made Farah to be a serious badass. They even, talk about it just before they encounter each other. And so I was hoping for, and I understand you've got to have Farah get beat, but it should have gone out a little bit. I mean, just a couple of moves. That one move, one and done, it shows the villain is tough, but it also downplays how tough that Farah is. And when we have the inevitable rematch, it's going to last longer than that. So, considering how short the first fight was, if they do a second fight and that starts to go long, then it feels uneven. I just wish they had maybe done a few more moves, showed her to still be a badass, but him just more of a badass as opposed to like an unstoppable force. And Amanda and the Rowdy 3 are back together. Oh, I was so excited. I mean, everybody's looking good. Great sequences. Again, more setup, but there's so much heart in these scenes. I mean, we have Amanda learning to use her powers, learning to dive in. I love the scene. I love the back and forth with Wakti Wapnasi when she tells her, "I thought you were punk." That was just perfect. Little wonderful dig there. But we're getting a nice big jump here in Amanda learning her powers. The fact that her disease now actually has in Wendimoor some magical applications. You don't just see it, you can now make it real. That knife you're feeling in your hand, focus and boom, now it's an actual real knife in you. Which would sort of explain the whole electricity thing that it happens probably subconsciously. Her disease came forward, that was the reaction, and thus that was the power she was able to physically manifest. Here, same thing as a knife. Feeling the pain from the knife, able to then manifest the knife. So, however that is working, she's going to be able to manifest. That's going to be the eventual onset of her powers, which is super cool. And I loved how much she was enjoying it too. I'm a witch bird. It was just, it was a great thing, especially for Amanda, who has been spending so much time looking for her place. And now, not only being with the Rowdy 3, but here in Wendimoor with the witches, really embracing herself and her power. And looking good in her outfit too. But we also have the Rowdy 3. Definitely enjoyed. Also looking cool and stylish. I love how they just added armor to their stuff and now they're looking cool. But what was there really nice, I think, was Martin's discussion with her about their connection. The fact that they see Amanda as the leader now. I mean, Vogel already did, but now it's kind of unanimous. I mean, one, yes, she pulled them out of Blackwing and suffering and starving and all of that stuff. Certainly a reason to do it. But their obvious appreciation when she's like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm not sure. And he's like, well, we're not going anywhere. You do what you have to do. We're always going to back you. It just, again, it gives that family unit. Whenever you have a group, whenever you have people that have your back and you know no matter what they got your back, that is a huge empowering moment. And again, even at the point where she sends them off, hey, I need you to go scout out and see what's going on. They're not thinking, it's not a delay, it's not a thought. They are ready to go and do what their leader asked them to do. So, great sequences in Wendimoor. A lot of cool stuff happening and moving forward. But that camaraderie, that connection, that's where the real power is right there. Okay, and Arnold. But I think we'll start off with how the episode actually opened up with our flashback to the dropping of the giant boat. Infant male Pollock Francis, which I believe was his name. Who's in the boat? Crying? An infant. It's male. And his name is Francis Pollock. I'm assuming that is Arnold. Perhaps not, but that was my first assumption, is that Arnold isn't actually the Cardenas kid, but came over from Wendimoor. We do get a little bit of background from the incident that there was the parents were having issues, money problems at the farm and the hotel. There's a company, Keller, that wanted to buy them out. Mom wanted to sell, Dad didn't. The company bought Mom a car, and that seems to have cascaded the big argument. We don't get any more. They're being very coy about this and not really being clear about whether or not Arnold was able to summon these things through or had found out a way that was happening already. He certainly thought that he could get him back to Wendimoor. He certainly felt responsible for things. But as kids often assign responsibility to things that they are not actually responsible for, we can't really be clear with him. I think he is a unreliable witness of his own life in that sense. Stuff went on, but they're being very coy with it, so we still don't know. There's definitely a baby involved. That would seem to be the boy, but we haven't confirmed that it's Arnold. Supposed to name Francis Pollock. All right, just a couple of small things. One, Mage, maybe feeling about sticking around for a while. I love that last little bit with old hubby just sticking pins into his face, which is why it was really funny when Susie walks up, and I thought almost it was pins in her face for a moment until I realized it was glass sticking out. Still kind of similar. But his, kind of belief that since everything was written out on the wall, if he goes back to Wendimoor, he's just going to die. But now, watching TV and seeing how big the world is, maybe thinking, grabbing a few guns and sending them over to Wendimoor to create some issues, maybe that's thinking small term. Maybe staying in this world and creating havoc on a big level, especially one that's not pre-written for him, might be the way to go. I kind of feel it for Tina right now. I mean, starts off feeling great, waking up with a horrible hangover with a massive party group at the police station. Kind of curious how that party went, but I guess Bart gave us a little insight. A lot of hugging, grabbing of butts and the like. But she goes through kind of a pretty big arc from that moment to sort of the realizations of what's going on with Suzy, to the whole answering machine, to the worried about Hobbs, and then seeing all the killing happening at the hospital. I'm hoping that she pulls it out. I'm hoping that she's got the strength to do it, because that is quite a day for young Tina, and like I said, that it's only going to get more intense. Lieutenant Assistant. Yeah, I can see Hugo's frustration with everything. Blackwing is a strange place. And I was wondering what the connection between Waki-Wap-Nasi and Mona was. Well, seemed to have been a little bit of a clue drop today, how Waki-Wap-Nasi says she can't see into our world, but she has a partner, she has an ally over here, and she can see through her. So I'm assuming that's probably Mona, and that was creating the connection that allowed Mona to transport Dirk out of Blackwing, and so on. Farah jumping right into the Midwestern accent right there was just, was awesome. Was so cool. Very natural sounding, and I just love her natural deception of the officer. This is how you get information. Just, perfect. It was really a great kind of esoteric moment for Mage there when he was sitting on the bed looking at the drawings on the wall and seeing how his life is laid out. And knowing that there was always some weird feeling that he had that something wasn't quite right. It was just real interesting. Again, a very personal, reflective, philosophical moment of what is the point of doing anything if everything is already predetermined. Even Ken knows that everything is connected. He spent a long time with Bart. That makes sense, but it's just kind of funny how, again, Hugo still, through all of this, doesn't understand that basic premise. And I love that when everything falls apart, when the dying happens and everything is cascading around and everyone's ready to get out of town, Todd is still insistent. His one focus is to get to Amanda. I mean, that's family, that's power, and of course it propels the rest of the show, but especially considering everything else that was happening and Dirk falling out of it and the depression and everyone's fear, that prime motivation still keeps him going. I love how Todd has really evolved through this season. And Ponto's gonna take Bart to Wendimoor, and then everybody's gonna be there. It's so exciting. Also, and again, that interesting question of, are you going to just let fate take you where you need to be, or are you going to choose and be proactive? Which, again, is powerful, except when you're people like Bart and Dirk, your proactive choices are what gets you to follow where the universe wants to go. Alright, well, I think that pretty much covers everything. So next week, we of course will have Todd and Dirk in Wendimoor. Certainly hope so, or they're stuck behind in Murphy's bed. I'm guessing it's the former. Plus, we've got the army heading towards Wati-Wapnasi and Amanda and the group there. So a lot of a little intrigue going on. Meanwhile, in this world, we still don't know what has happened to Hobbs. We haven't confirmed his death yet. And Tina's trapped in the hospital, and she's going to be left pretty much all by herself. Well, luckily, she should have Farah, assuming that Priest doesn't grab her. So it's going to get darker, it's going to get stranger, and it's going to keep going on next week. So I hope you are going to be able to join us with that. So if you did enjoy this review, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, suspicions, theories, you know what they are. Throw those down in the section below. Now you can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. If you are not a subscriber, please do so. It's quick, it's easy, you hit one button, you'll catch the rest of these reviews, plus The Walking Dead, Mr. Robot, we've got the return of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a lot of stuff going on. Don't miss it. Quick, easy, hit my face right here and you'll catch it all. And I'll go ahead and throw up our last couple of reviews right here and you can check those out. So, that's it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.